We have a high energy weather pattern setting up for the foreseeable future across the country, and we got a storm system right out ahead of us that we need to figure out for later this week into this coming weekend, and it could last a little bit into early next week. So we'll focus in on that first, go over the latest model information that we have, and then we'll dive deeper in the next week and just deeper into the month of February, where I think the pattern will just continue to be very, very active. So my name is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there and having a wonderful week so far. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's go over the latest Euro. We're going to start off with the South Central U.S. and then move into the Southeast and then into the Northeast. I know I left you guys hanging a little bit in yesterday morning's video. I got you covered here. So we're going to start off with Friday evening. You don't see a lot of winter weather on the map here, just mainly green, some splotches of yellow, orange, and red. This is just heavy rain and thunderstorms. So Friday evening, I do think we're going to run a risk of severe thunderstorms across western Texas, maybe a small section of New Mexico. So we'll see if the severe weather threat expands for Friday afternoon, Friday evening. But let's go on and move into Saturday. And as we do, a low pressure begins to deepen. You can see it, it might be in northern areas of Texas, southern areas of Oklahoma, but we got some sort of lowering of pressure right here. So surface low begins to develop. We get a lot of heavy rain around. We could have some thunderstorms embedded in this rain too. And then we begin to move into Saturday afternoon. This low pressure could begin to strengthen, deepen once you see that number right here. Start to drop more. This means we have a strengthening low pressure. So we could have a lot of thunderstorm action to the south of this. Now, we're getting a lot of model disagreement with where this low pressure will be. If it's further north, then you'll pull up better overlapping ingredients for severe weather further to the north. If this is further to the south, then we're still going to get a lot of rain, but the severe weather element to it won't be kind of pulled or extended further to the north. It'll just be kind of a big area of heavy rain. But this is Saturday afternoon, a lot of rain across Missouri, Arkansas, down into eastern areas of Texas, Louisiana, starting to get into the mid-south, Mississippi, and western Tennessee. But this could very well be some strong to severe thunderstorms, and we'll be able to fine-tune those details when we get deeper and just closer to some of these short-range models. So we continue to move into Saturday evening and start to get into the overnight hours. I would say this is late evening Saturday, and this looks like an intense line of thunderstorms, and this could be semi-discrete supercells, but it looks to be more linear, and this is pretty typical for February standards if you are going to get any thunderstorms across the country. But this looks like a solid sort of a congealed area of thunderstorms moving across Louisiana, Arkansas, getting into Mississippi, and then it starts to move into the southeast, and that's where we will jump ahead and we'll start off for Saturday afternoon. Here's the low pressure. Go on and move forward in time, and this is the middle of the night, Saturday night and a Sunday morning. So let's just call it midnight Saturday night. We got a low pressure, and you can see how it kind of repositions itself to the south. So you can tell the model's just struggling in general where this actual surface low is going to be. I know you're thinking, well, what's up with that? Well, this is not surprising. Model Guys does this. It's just trying to figure out where the surface low is going to be, kind of off the base of this cutoff low that's going to be swinging to the south, kind of bogged down by the ridge on top of it. So this actual surface low could be up here. It could be down here. We just got to figure that one out. But this is just thunderstorms and heavy rain. Some of this could be severe. And just watch out. Saturday night and the Sunday morning could be a line of thunderstorms sweeping through the Gulf states, the deep south. And then it starts to get kind of weird. I think we're starting to figure out things a little bit more for the South Central U.S., but for the Southeast, just up across the eastern U.S., the East Coast, the questions start to get, well, you start to get more questions about what's going to happen. We got a 999 low, which is a pretty strong low pressure going right across Alabama here. A lot of heavy rain to the north. Could there be some thunderstorms to the south? Absolutely, but this looks like a big rainmaker for the second half of your weekend across the southeast, the southern apps. If you're going to the mountains, this is not going to be a snowstorm across like the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. It's going to be a rainstorm, unfortunately, if you're looking for winter weather. But 999 low cutting across Atlanta Sunday afternoon, and this is just a lot of heavy rain, some severe weather possibilities to the south, and then this begins to sort of exit off the southeast coastline as we're getting into Sunday evening. Now, the big question here, we keep getting back and forth. Now, the euro normally it's kind of that it keeps things conservative and right for us. And I'm not saying it's not here before I show it to you, but it's out on an island as far as what it's showing and what it keeps going back to with a winter storm threat. So if a winter storm does happen, once again, you tip your cap to the king of all models, the Euro. But check out what the OOZ run did overnight. So this is starting off Sunday midday. And as we're moving forward, look at all the blue show up. That rain runs into cold air, switches to snow, and all of a sudden we get a big time snowstorm developing across West Virginia, northern VA, just north of the DC Baltimore area. And this is all heavy, wet snow moving across PA. And then check it out. This is very heavy snow. I mean, just north of the DC Baltimore area. It's getting into Philadelphia. It's getting into New York City. This is in the middle of the night this coming Sunday into Monday morning. And it gets all the way up into Boston, and it actually switches the snow from into DC and the Baltimore, the Delmarva, up into Delaware, Jersey Shore, getting crushed by a heavy wet snowstorm. New York City getting snow, and one would argue that if this is the way it plays out on this specific model run, that this could be a blizzard. And check it out how it begins to reclimb up the coastline as this low pressure strengthens. Therefore, it gains a little bit more latitude and tries to get further north Monday afternoon. And this is an all-out blizzard across southern areas of southern New England. I mean, that is extremely heavy snow. This thing is loaded with moisture. I'm going to talk about why it does this here in a second. We'll kind of geek out with you guys for a minute. But that is an all-out, I mean, this is a huge snowstorm. And it comes up in slams Atlantic Canada. We might need to have a segment for you guys here in the next video or two. I know I've left you guys hanging a lot this winter, and I apologize. I know I've covered you guys a lot more in the past, so my bad on that. But crazy scenario by the Euro right now. Let's look at the latest 06Z, and we're going to look at this together because I haven't looked at it yet because it was still running when I was preparing this video. And we're starting it off for Wednesday. Let's go on and jet forward here. We get into Friday morning. Here comes the system creeping up on your screen. Hopefully we have the entirety of the run. And we have a 999 low. So it looks pretty similar to the latest Euro. Well, the Euro from overnight. One thing I'm already seeing is, if you look really closely, there's some snow and those higher elevated regions of the southwest North Carolina are already developing. And it does something similar. It doesn't look as cold, but it does look like it comes up and becomes another snowstorm across the Northeast. It's just warmer. You can see how that snow rain line is further to the north compared to the run I just showed you. And it still eventually switches this to heavy wet snow across the New York City area and Boston, southern New England. And this is the last frame I got right here. But you're really, if you want snow across the Northeast, you're kind of flirting with a fine line here. You kind of want it, you don't want it too amped up because there's not a lot of cold air to work with. Or you're definitely going to bring that rain line all the way to the I-95 corridor. You can already see that sort of happening on the 06Z. It's a snowstorm up here. But, it's not all snow for New York City this run. It kind of switches to heavy snow. So it's a heck of a run. That is still a major snowstorm. Very heavy snow, not a long-lived one or anything like that. But this is a big event. All right. And then you look at the GFS. All right. And this is just an easy run through right here. You got a big chunk of moisture out across the central and southern plains. This just cruises, much weaker low pressure, kind of gets bogged down by the ridge, and it's just a big rainmaker throughout the entire weekend across the southern tier of the country. And this does not climb up and affect the northeast coastline or just the northeast. It's a snow event. You do got a low pressure developing here, but it's just more of a zonal, flat, west to east look. And then that's all she wrote. Just a big rainmaker. Could have some severe weather with it. Very well could. But, on that, just a big rainmaker. Now, what causes the last night's Euro to do what it did? Right? All right, this is our main energy. Right here, okay? This is our big moisture source. And this is Saturday afternoon. So this is our lower pressure. All right, as it moves forward, it begins to strengthen. Then I want you to look at this energy. Let's make sure this is working. You got this energy right here. This is some northern stream energy. And this is our main energy right here. Now watch what happens with this. Okay, we get a bit of some phasing going on. You can see this kind of comes down and flirts with this energy, and then they connect and sort of wrap up at the last second. And as they do, that little shot of northern stream energy literally injects cold air into this moisture down here. And as they connect, they're able to phase, tilts, and they're able to get further north. Therefore, it's able to climb a little bit up the East Coast. Therefore, develop a swath of accumulating snow across areas of the upper mid-Atlantic and New England. So you kind of see what happens there. Once again, here comes some northern stream energy trying to catch up with our main energy right here. And they connect. This injects some cold air in there. Very marginal cold air, but it's enough to get the job done for mid-February in the Northeast. Not for the Southeast, but for the Northeast for sure. So now, one thing that we're beginning to get a little bit more confident in is that there's going to be some form of severe weather. The first ingredient you look at is kinematics, and this is wind flow aloft, just a favorable wind pattern for severe weather. So as this sort of cutoff low is moving from the west to the south from the west to the east across the southern tier of the country, this is getting what we call a mid-level jet going across the southern states. And you can see this is Friday afternoon. We got some southwesterly flow going right into Texas. This is yanking up some deeper moisture from the south to the north. And as we move forward, and sometimes pivotal weather can be kind of weird. It might take a couple seconds for some of these panels to load here. As we start to get into Friday night, and then we start to get into, see, this is what I'm talking about here. I love pivotal weather, but it just does this. If you keep the site up too long, it's like it gets mad that you're not showing it any attention. So yeah, but we get into Saturday afternoon, and you can see how this kind of southwesternly mid-level jet begins to run right over areas of the south central U.S. and the southern Mississippi Valley and the Delta region, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, those states. So we get this flow moving over this region right here. And then we begin to move into Saturday night. We get into Sunday morning, and we have this dip right here, our cutoff low feature, and we got a lot of flow going over the southeastern states. We got this 50, 60, maybe 70 knot mid-level jet. It gets into the 70s once you get towards the panhandle of Florida. So this is providing a lot of wind energy, and this is, you see this wind barb right here. This is pointing to the southwest. That means the flow is coming from the southwest to the northeast. Therefore, it's trying to rip up some of that Gulf moisture up into the southeastern states, and this might bring that kind of moist sector into the area, which connects with our thermodynamics. So speaking of our thermodynamics, and we talk about moisture, low-level moisture, we talk about dew points. All right, so we got dew points in the 50s. Depending on your elevation, that could support severe weather, but you really got to start to get into the 60s and the 70s. And as we're starting Friday afternoon, we get these dew points on this run of the Euro into the 50s. This will get the job done in the western, in the southern high plains here in western Texas. Maybe some areas that could get into the low 60s. So that's why they already have a risk of severe weather out here, just a marginal risk in western Texas for Friday. But as we move forward and we start to get into our Saturday, this is Saturday mid-morning, and I mean, we get this moist sector rising, dew points all the way into the 60s, even mid-60s, even upper 60s, all the way down to like Corpus Christi, maybe Houston, just the Texas coastline. But we get this moist sector that kind of rises all the way up into the Red River. And then we start to get into our Saturday afternoon, and this starts to rise all the way into Arkansas. So you got this sector of dew points in the 60s. This is a thermodynamic for severe weather. So you got that wind field overriding this moist sector, and we call that overlapping ingredients for severe weather. How's our CAPE levels going to be? I'll show you that in the next video or two, and we just can get a little bit more information. But as we are starting to move into the southeast, how does this moist sector respond? Well, as we move forward, you can tell it kind of shrinks, and that is because our storm system, our surface low, does not fully eject from the southwest to the northeast. It doesn't cut. If it did, this would rise this moist sector a little bit more all the way up into Tennessee, and it still could do that. But it's more of a zonal kind of look here, meaning it's kind of going west to east, and then it feels the kind of the tug from that northern stream, and then it yanks that low pressure further north. But this is getting into the middle of the night, Saturday night and a Sunday. We got this area of moist air that's going to really be kind of feeding that line of storms that I think could potentially be rolling through the deep south states. And then we start to get into our Sunday afternoon. How's the severe weather threat going to be across the Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida? We have, I would say, more so marginal dew points in the 50s to 60s, but this could get the job done. Of course, this isn't a locked-in scenario. We know that. Now, one thing that I'm watching is if a surface low really deepens, I think we could have a big wind event across areas of the east, regardless of if this is a rain-dominated, storm-dominated setup or a winter weather-dominated setup, or both. And this is the low-level jet, 850 millibars, about 4,000 to 6,000 feet above your head, about a mile above your head. This is one thing you really look at when you're trying to figure out a damaging wind threat and even a tornado threat. All right? This isn't wind to the surface, it's a loft. So as we're moving forward, you're going to see in response to this surface low strengthening, I mean, this is like Sunday or just Sunday morning, okay? We got this 50, 60, maybe at times 70 knot low-level jet rumbling over Georgia, South Carolina. And this will mix to the surface, has some strong gusty winds. And then this gets going even more in the eastern areas of the Carolinas, up into southeast Virginia. And this is Sunday afternoon. And regardless if we are getting thunderstorms with this could still produce some very strong winds. And of course, this goes up and really gets going. And this is why we could have a blizzard if the snow scenario plays out across areas of the Northeast. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, guys. I know a lot of people want to say, well, there's no cold air source. Well, there is. If you inject this, there is if you inject this into this setup. I mean, it's mid-February. I mean, this could work. It's not like it's the end of March or something. So if you inject that into the pattern, into the setup, I mean, you can get a winter storm out of this. Now, talking about, severe weather, what's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center? Well, for Friday, they already have a marginal risk in that area we talked about for Friday afternoon. But for Saturday, they have not pulled the trigger on a 15% risk, which is a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. This is day 4, Saturday. It says predictability too low, and there is a discussion below this, but I'm not going to read it word for word through the video. But I think at least by the time we get into tomorrow morning, they're at least going to have a marginal risk across kind of this area right in here. And then for Sunday, says predictability too low also, and I think we're going to have a risk of severe weather across the deep south states. Now, regardless, a lot of much needed rain is on the way. Multiple inches of precipitation, and I don't think any of this is going to be winter weather. This will be all rain. This is between now and Tuesday morning. This is the blend of all models. And yeah, a lot of rain on the way. And then we look at the eastern U.S., and you can tell off the blend of all models, it doesn't really buy a lot of moisture getting up into the Northeast like the Euro is showing, but that could change. And I will say the blend of all models does run about 6 to 12 hours behind. It kind of attaches to previous model runs. But this is a strong signal for a lot of much needed rain. It's just unfortunately this is going to fall on the weekend across the deep south. So, and the mid-south. So multiple inches of precipitation, rain is on the way. Now, what about that signal for snow across the Northeast? This is the Euro Ensemble. Okay. And listen, the Euro Ensemble backs up its operational run. It is a pretty strong signal for snow across the Northeast. And even areas in the mid-Atlantic. I mean, you got a 2-inch mean all the way down to D.C. I mean, you got a 3 to 4 inch snowfall mean across New York City. Same thing up into Boston. I mean, so there is a signal here. And if you look at the GFS ensemble, it's a lot more goofy looking for sure. But it is totally different. Totally different. Now, if we look at the latest, yeah, it hasn't ran yet, but the signal is there. So I'm not trying to honk the horn too much at it. But when the Euro continues to show something like that, you got to pay attention until it just completely does away with it. And it has not did away with it at all. All right, so What about, let's switch gears. What about the West? And I know I don't talk about this area much, but the pattern's about to get much more active. If you're a fan of winter weather and you live out West, I'm happy for you because you have had a big time lack of winter so far this winter. But starting off this weekend, especially the later portion of the weekend, you're going to start off this pattern with a bang here, and a big storm system is going to fly across the western states. It might just really target the far western states first, and then eventually it just breaks loose and we get a high energy setup. You can see all the blue on your screen. This is next Tuesday. This is next Wednesday. Just storm system after storm system, like an atmospheric river could really set up. And then we start to get into about Monday morning of the 23rd, and it might begin to calm down somewhat, but it's a very active pattern setting up, and it's all because of a trough that's dropping down across the west, and it's going to anchor there for a while. It's just going to be stuck in place, and I think this will be a dominating pattern for a good chunk of the month of February. So this is the Euro Ensemble for snow, blends together 51 members, and that's a pretty strong signal for snow for the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, all of the Rockies. Look at the Sierra Nevada, feet of snow on the way. And if you do look closely here, some of these valley areas, the valley floors, like the towns and Oregon and Washington, we all know Seattle. You certainly are going to have the opportunity to get maybe some snow out of this. I know it's normally for you folks to the west and the east or south or north, depending on the elevation, but some of these snow levels can drop in some of these setups. If you can get true injections of cold air into the setup, you need really cold air. Salt Lake City, you've been really void of any kind of winter so far. You kind of snow this winter. I do think that changes, and you'll get a couple snowstorms out of this pattern. I do think you will. But moving forward, what we watch for is all this energy that moves in the west. This will eventually eject across the middle of the country. So this is just kind of a quick look at this. First off, getting in the next Tuesday into Wednesday has a 983 low cutting way up in the northern areas of the country. This could bring all kinds of dynamic weather, some storms to the south. And depending on the placement of this low pressure, it could be further south. We could get a blizzard on top of it. But is that blizzard going to be in Canada, or is it going to be in the northern sections of the country? But that system flies through, and check out this area of thunderstorms flying across the Mid-South, the Midwest, Ohio Valley. Not sure if that's going to be the exact way it plays out. And then we get about 9-10 days out, another system flies across the middle of the country, 993 low. This brings thunderstorms to the south, snow to the north. And I just think that's going to be the reoccurring theme in this pattern, just storm systems digging across the west and then ejecting. Energy will eject across the middle of the country in the form of storm systems. And it's going to be hard for the cold to break loose across the east. I think the east has a big warm up on the way. But if you look at the signal for lower pressure across the middle of the country, this is the Euro Ensemble, and it's puts together 51 members, creates a mean or an average. And when your average lower pressure is 995, a week from today, well, a little under a week from today, that's a pretty strong signal for a strong storm system across the middle of the country. So we're going to watch that, and the lower pressure that you see in the blue that's dominating your screen here. This is just telling us that, hey, we're going to have a lot of energy flying across the country for the middle to later portion of February. Maybe it quiets down into the last week of February, but a lot of energy flying through. And I'm going to tell you guys, one thing I haven't really talked about much is just temperatures in general, but something about February, it is just, it's just a month that it seems like, I don't want to get too lost in all this, but it seems like February used to be a big month across the east for winter weather, especially the south. Here in South Carolina, people still talk about, well, all of our snowstorms always come in February or even early March. Well, you can't really say that as of late. The last decade, last February provided a little bit of action, certainly. I mean, we had a blizzard across areas of northeast North Carolina, southeast Virginia, but outside of that, and a couple of things here and there, February has just been a pre-extension to spring. It really has, and I don't think this February is going to be any different. There was signs that it was going to be a cold February across the east. Now we've kind of flipped that, and what I'm showing you here is the Euro Ensemble. This is from yesterday. What are we doing here? Which didn't change much at all. This is between now And well, this is between day 5 and day 15. So the 15th through the 25th of February. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what these colors mean. The middle to eastern areas of the country leaning towards above average temperatures. The west below average temperatures. So we've certainly flipped the pattern. The only area that'll stay around average, even below average, is areas that have stayed around that all winter, and that is areas of New England and the Northeast. But yeah. Probably about to get them late summer weeds popping up across the south central U.S. and the southern tier of the country if you haven't already. As far as today's weather, we got southern stream energy riding across the southern states. Much needed rain flying through. After a very dry winter, we're starting to get more activity flying through these areas of the country. And then we got this spinning low pressure up here that's just pivoting some snow back into the northeast. We got some energy getting going across the western U.S. And the middle areas of the country is pretty quiet. Watches, warnings, and advisories. It's about to get lit up out west for sure, especially as we get towards Friday and Saturday. But we got winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings across the Sierra Nevada, across the Rockies, some wind alerts also with the storm system nearby, and some winter weather advisories, even some winter storm warnings across areas of the Northeast. But the Southeast today, we got the rain that will continue, and I wouldn't be surprised if we even try to get some thunderstorms in southern Alabama, southern Georgia, maybe the low country of South Carolina later this evening, and then that's about it. Now the Northeast, just some energy kind of pivoting around, some snow showers, heck, might even get some burst of snow across New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire today. But we're going to continue just to get snow most of the day in the down east areas of Maine as this low pressure is kind of trapped. It's delivering some snow across Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and we could get some flurries as far south tomorrow morning as Pittsburgh and down to West Virginia, areas of Ohio. South central U.S., some showers dancing around across the Texas coastline and maybe even an isolated thunderstorm or two across southern areas of Mississippi, southern areas of Louisiana. But outside of that, it's not very active. The north central U.S., some snow showers across the UP, maybe a persistent lake effect snow band across areas of the eastern UP of Michigan off Lake Superior. It could deliver a few inches of snow, but 99% of everybody else, pretty quiet. Western U.S., spinning low pressure off the coast of Cali out here. This will continue to deliver rounds of rain across San Francisco and surrounding areas. And we'll continue to get some showers and then higher elevation snow showers across the Rockies. And we'll continue to move forward. And that low pressure will eventually weaken and we'll get some stronger action closer to the weekend. Temperatures in the east, northeast, thawing out a little bit. We get a little bit of snow melt, I think, today. And 50s and 60s will rise all the way up into Virginia. We had some very, very, very impressive record-breaking diurnal swings yesterday, meaning I think Cannon Valley, listen to this, Cannon Valley, West Virginia, started off, I believe, yesterday morning at negative 27 degrees and then warmed all the way into like 50-something degrees. They had an 80-degree swing in one day. I mean, even in my neck of the woods, we had a 45-degree swing. I think it went from 31 degrees to 76 degrees or something like that. I don't know. Just insane swing yesterday in temperatures, but it was nice. It really made me ready for spring. And you guys know that's hard for me to say because I'm a big fan of winter. But this is out west. It's about to get colder out here. That's all I got, guys. No Bible devotion this morning. This morning was my rest day, so I woke up late. Soccer has been kicking your boys' butt for sure. I'm so sore. Them kids got me running around everywhere. But we'll get back to all that tomorrow. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for the people who continue to tune in, even though it's slowed down. You guys are the true core foundation of my channel, and just want to let you guys know I appreciate y'all so much. All the members of my channel and everybody that just supports me unconditionally. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.